All right, we are in lovely, historic, drop my GoPro. So we're here in lovely, historic, South Central Los Angeles. This is the residential area directly to the south of downtown LA. So in the 1950s, when the state was given tons and tons of money to play with, they built a freeway about 3 blocks to the north of here. Went through some tough times, but right now it's basically, oh doggy, it's basically a working class, pretty much the epitome of working class. A lot of areas in LA that have negative reputations are just basically primarily residential areas for regular people with regular jobs doing everything around us. LA just has a massive swath of areas just like this. So right now we're walking due south of the 10 freeway. The 10 freeway is just up there. So what I gotta already tell in this neighborhood is it's much quieter than it usually is. And now you can hear birds chirping and dogs barking. It's quite lovely. So as far as I can tell, this is just any random LA neighborhood, South LA neighborhood. We have residential backing up against big business, big pallet. So now we're kind of in no man's land. We have a whole residential over there and then industrial for days. There's some businesses that are operating, a lot of emptiness. It's just a general waste of space. There's a giant stretch of LA just exactly like this, like block after block. And tiny houses are so cheap. What we really need, quite frankly, is we need bathrooms, and we need rules on trash and litter. Like, start with the fundamentals. That is the best start. There's no way to solve this, so it's gonna have to happen incrementally. So the first thing you do is have some bathroom facilities. So I can hear off in the distance, that is the Metro A line. So these tracks here used to serve the Pacific Electric between downtown Los Angeles and Long Beach.
There's the new Santa Monica freeway under construction up ahead.
So as a former regular rider of the Blue Line, they're stepping up enforcement. Say something. That's right. So in my Blue Line riding days, this was oftentimes a stop where you would inadvertently end up, oh, kittens.
Thanks for going Metro. Eating, drinking, and smoking on Metro trains or stations is not allowed. This is your system, so please help us keep it clean.
So this area is now freight traffic central. It's like maximum overdrive. There's trucks everywhere here normally. But it's the weekend, and discretionary drivers are not necessarily going to be around here. It's amazing how light traffic is, but it's the weekend. So I think everyone's got their excuse locked in as to why they can't make that trip, and it's just kind of making do. My ultimate transit fantasy for this area is this station would be elevated, and then there'd be a big swooping left turn to make it super elevated over the 10 freeway. Because if this area was like super smooth and slick, if trains were able to speed in and out at regular speeds, it would get into downtown a lot quicker and make it a lot more attractive. So not gonna lie, that's not my favorite station. So we're headed into Encampment Central. It's basically just an extension of Skid Row, except there's no services down here, so it's more quiet and it's more wild. There's a lot of encampment fires, intentional fires, you know, people taking revenge out on each other. Pretty scary. See, that's what I call a burnout or a bombed out building, and it's when the encampment next to the building catches fire. But fortunately, most of these buildings are made of concrete, so it's kind of fortified from what's going on outside all hours of the night, which is kind of creepy. So my new pet peeve about LA is they make you hit these buttons, and if you don't hit the buttons, then it's like, screw you. It's nice to have the little guy to reassure you in case you get like almost hit or something. You can just point at the little guy. But when it's red, it looks like you're doing something wrong just crossing the street. So there's a lot of warehouses in this area that have, you know, fortified conditions. So we have motorhome. Sorry, man. I'm going to the freeway. All right. All right, dude. All right, I'm gone. So that was my own fault because I was kind of spacing out, and I was like, oh shit, that guy's right there. We'll just pretend that didn't happen. Obviously it's loud, but once you get away from the regular cars on the street, it's nice to not hear the freeway off in the distance. Very little freeway noise. It's great. So call me crazy, but I always thought this would be a good place for an In-N-Out, because you could just fortify it off and just have security and stuff that you would have all this land. It's funny that I would think that, but that's just something that popped into my head about where a good place for an In-N-Out would be. So this is the extent. This doesn't even really back up that far. So as far as this weekend, it literally is just a minor detour. These guys doing a good job. It's always funny after a disaster or an emergency, the city has this way. It's like they pay Disney actors to direct traffic, and you know they get the cheeriest police officers and stuff. So it always gives me a little chuckle. So that would have been the entrance to the 10 freeway over the river to Boyle Heights and to the rest of the United States. Arizona, Texas. Interstate 10 is a major artery. So it was built the way it was because California already had a really extensive freeway plan and implementation. They were building freeways all over the place, the Santa Ana Freeway, the Hollywood Freeway. The state suddenly had access to where if they paid for 10% of the infrastructure, the government would pay the 90%. So they built this freeway as quickly and as hastily and as futuristically. So that's an off-ramp right there. So if you look at it from above, this area is a complete maze of on-ramps and off-ramps. None of them make any cohesive sense, but thankfully with GPS, it's not really all that necessary anymore. But yeah, that off-ramp wraps around the back of that building. So it's crazy. This area is always a traffic dystopia in the afternoon. Taking Washington is many times quicker than taking the freeway. And not a lot of people know that. But if there's a bunch of trucks, like if there's a major shipment or something and it's loaded with trucks, it just sucks. So there it is, a sweeping, futuristic, elevated expressway. I will have to say that it is nicer looking than many East Coast cities of the time because it's made of concrete for some reason. California has mostly used concrete for their bridges, which is good because if it was exposed steel, then that bridge would have been toast. But I know the bridge has also had a ton of retrofitting done to it. The whole viaduct has been known to be a seismic risk. And the part of this freeway, part of the 10 freeway that collapsed during the earthquake was actually built after this. So this was like the prototype for the rest of the freeway. When this freeway first opened, it was just kind of a nowhere to nowhere segment. They were going to run it down Venice Boulevard, but from when construction starts to completion back in those days is just insane. So this is pretty much what is under the entire freeway. This stretch of highway in its entirety has available land all the way from the river to the convention center. There's a lot of different needs. I believe this is a Caltrans yard. Yeah. The Caltrans bus, the bus of shame. So I got to give it up to them for back in the day. It was innovative. It was daring, but it was also a lot of controversy. Kind of a shame how quickly they were making decisions of people's lives and property. So it looks like looks like most of the property that was taken for this stretch of freeway was industrial. But this actual street, I bet you this sidewalk is probably from before the freeway. That was a thing at one time. A lot of freeways in LA had ivy dangling from them. Once upon a time, Alameda had tracks that ran from here past here and up towards. So one of the early passenger terminals was right along this street, probably about a half a mile from here. So you can kind of see what they used. A lot of the space under the highway. It's a towing company. Looks like AAA dispatch. But it's crazy. There's no shortage of freeway access points. You can get anywhere in the middle of the night on a weekday. It's biblical. So you can see some of these. That's all seismic retrofitting. That's a takeaway. That if the bridge is still standing, and indeed still, I was shocked. I thought were going to have to tear it all out and do it again. So this is pretty much the brunt of the traffic from the freeway closure. Not bad at all. I'm just kind of patiently waiting until there's no more cars. Oh, this is the on-ramp to get onto the freeway around it. Yeah. And it just dawned on me, that's a new Starbucks over there. And that Jack in the Box has been there for quite a while. But they're both 24-hour drive-thrus, which is just something to consider. It is kind of an adventure. It's kind of an adventure going through here at night. So yeah, there's a Starbucks drive-thru here. I went in there earlier and there's no place to sit. There's no restroom. Alright, so here we are. But that's the damaged part. Let me zoom in a little bit. So that's ground zero right there. I don't see anyone working actively, but there's a couple guys working. They don't seem to be all that stressed out about it. That's crazy, that suburban Starbucks in the industrial part of LA. Man, that's pretty rustic. And some more railroad. So it's weird. Obviously I can hear the cars on the road, which you can always hear, but that roar of that freeway in the background is gone. Olympic and Alameda. So now we're headed east along Olympic, but it seems like we're headed south, but it's just the way the streets are. Oh, there we go. Yep, you can see they got it all braced up. So I guess that's got to be a testament to the retrofitting they did. Because I don't know, those photographs, those pylons looked completely toast. Yeah, pretty much one of the weirder places to walk around. But it's okay, I brought it on myself. So just like that, the freeway was built at very funky angles. Well, that's a very empty 10 freeway up there. So I gotta admit, I will feel a lot comfortable when I get to put my camera away. So I think we're gonna finish up over here just to kind of see a little bit more context of what it was in the surrounding area, the industrial wasteland under the 10 freeway. It's fascinating. Yeah, everything in LA is shipping and logistics. The 5 takes me home. See, I'm a cynic about a lot of things when it comes to freeways. I use them, sure. But it goes without saying that the decisions made in the 60s, 50s and 60s, a lot of times was just absolute crap. So if they had thought this out and went through like the normal processes of, you know, meetings and all that stuff, all the normal stuff that we do now, it wouldn't have been built in 3 years for sure. It's an amazing amount of time. This is a very long bridge. But it looks like they went with the simplest choice. Just throw down a bunch of pylons. So, you know, this one has steel. All of these have steel. I betcha because this was built over a rail line, and then what they used to do is put little steel stretches over the tracks. So all in all, not that big of a deal. Traffic seems to be doing all right. It's moving at least. I think since it's the weekend, just people have greater discretion as to whether or not they can avoid traveling through the area, which would be smart. But I got news for you. Olympic is screwed almost every day of the week. Because a lot of the streets don't go through. 6th Street does, but only one direction. Honey. What's the gas at here? $4.49 for cash. Well, the dude says business has been good. That's really the stock up place if you live around here and you need to stock up before hitting the road. So I was gonna triumph my walk over to Jack's and have a buttery jack, but instead I went with some pineapple. There's like 0 choices around here. There is nothing open. But there are plenty of cars. There it is. About as close as I'm gonna get to it. So I have to, my suspicion is those photographs were doctored in some way. Or not in some way, but obvious ways. It's very easy to do. I don't know. It doesn't look that bad, but I am no structural engineer. And it looks like the fix is pretty simple. And there's Jacques and the brand new Starbucks drive-thru, open 24 hours apparently. That's got to be a pretty freaky shift, to be honest with you. So right here is arbitrary use of the under the freeway region. Cinder blocks. Yeah, it's crazy. They were storing pallets and there was 0 fire suppression system. So that just goes to show how nobody pays attention to anything anymore. Man, it is a beautiful day today. It's like 68 degrees. And it just rained. So obviously it's the weather that keeps us here. So you can see they put the fence along here because what happens is when the encampments go up against the building, they're susceptible to arson, which is no good for the business. Hey, pallets, more pallets. Pallets are apparently like on one of those city building games. They should make pallets a unit of the economy. They seem to be everywhere. These streets are all weird. Sometimes I'll take a zigzag route to go to the southeast. And there's all these weird streets. Like, clearly nobody gives a damn about these streets.